And folks, this is FearGorm with Harlequin in the SCReddit Open number 10, round of 4 between Cheticus and Vequeth. Score is currently 0-0 for this best of 3 on Xel'Naga Caverns. So, PVZ, Harlequin, I'd like to hear you say what you think of the Z strategy is here.
Yeah, this is great. Cheticus, I'm less familiar with him, although we've been focusing on Chompy so much lately, but here, but I'll keep talking in the meantime because the strategy on the Xel'Naga Caverns is difficult for Zerg, but not impossible. Just because of this expansion, the horizontal expansion is so hard to defend against. You really have to stretch yourself too thin with both your creep tumors, your spine crawlers, and your queens in order to really kind of keep control of that in the way. And assuming Vequeth starting off with a pylon in front of his base, he could very easily be going for a fast expand cannon kind of build here. We'll have to see where that goes. But assuming that it's a normal 4-gate style push, Cheticus will usually have his work cut out for him in terms of if he's going to defend his fast expand or not. And so far, it's too early in his build to tell if he's still going to plan on the build, but plan on building that 15 hatch, or if he's just going to go for a normal speedling push.
Yeah, and this is interesting. I mean, you don't often see Protoss's fast expand on a map like this just versus Zerg, just because it's so tempting for them to just all in 4-gate or even 5-gate, as we just saw in a few games ago. But I'm actually looking at this wall, and it's not linked tight. Actually, he could put a Zealot there.
Yep.
Okay, he is completing that wall off with a Forge. So I'm wondering if he's planning on doing a pylon wall in on Cheticus going into a fast expand.
Yeah, a lot of times if you kind of connect up, if you have your little Sim City coming down the ramp and you connect it up to the left-hand side of your Nexus, you can kind of make your Nexus part of a long, not a perfect wall-in, but a long path they have to take all the way around if they try to get into your main. So even if he's not playing on fast expanding, this is good thinking for the future because he could still defend this almost as easily, and then eventually he'll be able to do that. But Cheticus, look at him. Look at Cheticus, how aggressive he's being about keeping that pylon out. And there he is trying to get the pylon.
Oh, yeah, and he cancels it. Yes, he forced the cancel.
On here. He's never going to let that happen.
Yeah, and Vequeth, I don't think he should keep on trying. I think that day is done right there. And Vequeth forced to pull back, but it's not a total failure. I mean, at the end of the day, he still has a Forge to defend if he needs to. He can still get +1 and do a really strong timing push off 2 base. So in the meantime, he's not going to be too far behind with his expansion, I don't think. No, he's at 200 minerals right now. So in a few more seconds, he will have enough to get up his expansion. So Cheticus, I really like that. I mean, I often...
Early Zealot, look at that. Oh, what a beautiful play by Vequeth. I was going to say Cheticus.
So elegant.
Cheticus reminding us that he wasn't born yesterday, but now suddenly Vequeth just planned for this. He said, oh yeah, that's fine. If you want to block with the probe, no problem. I'll bring a Zealot and then do the same exact thing. This is very difficult now. This is suddenly, and boom, there's the spine crosser. Cheticus is being one-upped again by Vequeth here.
Yeah, but such dynamic play from both players. I mean, so Vequeth goes for the early cannon. Cheticus calls him, and then he brings up a Zealot to just do the job of a pylon and basically block that. And look at that. There's nothing the Lings can really do without losing a lot of Lings. And at this point in time, yeah, he's got to cancel the Expo. He has no way to defend it. Ooh, and a bit of a blunder. I mean, that cannon is going to be close enough to shoot either the Expo or anything that's coming up the ramp, or the Spine Crawler if he can get sight. And, that Zealot can move. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, nice. I like how he suicided the Zealot to get a little bit of sight so he can shoot those Lings down. But this is really smart by Cheticus, because right now, those cannons, I mean, they're going to force a cancel on the hatch, but that's a lot of investment. If you look back at Vequeth's base, he had no opportunity to fast expand. He has a lot of minerals that he's sitting on right now, and it seems like he doesn't really have too much of a transition out of this, because he committed a lot to this strategy. Yeah, and right now even Ling's going for a little bit of nibbling on the Forge. Not really going to do too much, but forced Vequeth to defend with that Zealot. I would have liked to actually see Cheticus go to work on that pylon instead. I look at that, Vequeth forced to continue throwing down more and more cannons. So right now Cheticus has a lot of Lings. Vequeth is in big trouble because he did not execute a wall off. And what is he doing right now? Going to defend, I think. He knows he's in big trouble. Oh, it's turned into sort of an all-in for him, and he doesn't really have a response. I mean, those Lings will kill a ton of probes, even if they get held up by that cannon that's coming up. Oh, and Cheticus is starting to fall back a little bit. I don't agree with that. Yeah, just get a nicer round, kill as many probes as you can, because they're not like Zealots. You kill them, there's a market impact on your opponent's economy. And look how quickly they fall. Now you can just run straight into the main and kill everything in there, but now there is a cannon position right there. And I think we see the effects of not having speed on those wings right here. And let me just see what's going on there. I'm not really sure what's going on. But yeah, Vequeth, I think, is in a bit of dire straits right now. I mean, Cheticus managed to keep his Expo alive. He's getting link speed. He did a lot of damage. If you look at the income, yeah, I mean, Vequeth's not doing great, but Vequeth is pretty far behind. I mean,
yeah, it's really weird.
Cheticus is doing great, but Vequeth is pretty far behind.
Both players are like, and I apologize, I might have had myself muted there. Both players are like, they're each a step ahead of each other, but they're constantly like stepping and stepping and stepping. So the field is constantly changing in terms of who's on top. But I think Cheticus has finally got his advantage. But frankly, he did the right move. He ignored the pylon, ran out of his base, and rushed with lings and killed a lot. But then Vequeth was just a step ahead of that and had the defensive cannons just in time, and so he kind of rebalanced the playing field again. So neither player really won the game right there. But you know, I have to think Cheticus is maybe at least a little bit ahead. But boy, what a weird play from both players.
Yeah, and Vequeth, I think he sort of overcommitted to this pylon block. And I mean, if we look at the results now, we have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, three cannons, not subcount the 2 cannons he lost at this run and the 2 pylons he lost here. So he's been set back quite a bit, even in terms of tech, by Cheticus' response. Because Cheticus had a very, very quick response to that really clever use of a zealot. He just threw down a spine crawler, perfect positioning, and forced Vequeth to have to defend with those 2 zealots instead of getting another pylon. And I really like how dynamic both of these players are proving themselves.
Yeah, I'm glad that he finally got his speed upgrade. It's really hard to attack this with lings. He needs a roach army if he's going to press with lings. There's the roach warren finally, right as I said that, proving once again that sometimes I'm psychic, although often not. That's kind of what he needs if he's going to bust that down, but really he needs to start working on his late game. He needs to let go of the idea that he's just going to all-out win this right now and just kind of back off a little bit and just say, okay, because there was a moment there where he could have rushed in and attacked with lings, and that moment's passed, so now he just needs to build an army, build an econ, get some more gas, frankly. He only has 1 gas up still.
Well, and a perfectly timed scout from Cheticus. You're going to see that Twilight Council going up, so I'm a little curious as to what the point of this Twilight Council is. I mean, if it's to get Dark Templar, I mean, he knows by now that his opponent has the detection for it. If it's to get Blink, that just seems kind of odd, because I don't think he has enough resources to pump on enough Stalkers for Blink to be all that effective. He won't have sight of any high ground, so I'm not really sure what he can do. I mean, the only reasonable transition I can see is for him to get Charge or something, and just try to spam enough units to hold off Ling and Roach pressure with Stalkers and Zealots. But honestly, even Charge would sound kind of weird to me. Oh, and Cheticus taking another expansion. Harlequin, this is exactly what we were saying. If you see your opponent expand again, because he's not going to be aggressive.
Yep, and proper move. You called it right there. I couldn't say it any better. That's exactly what he needs to do. And Cheticus doing a good job, you know, and not being idle with his lings either. He's making sure he's you know, taking bites out of these rocks, even though it takes forever with unupgraded lings to even do any damage to that rock. They do about 2 damage a swing. The roaches are finally coming out now. That looks good. He's finally got 4 gas going up. That looks good. Evo Chamber, so looking like he's going for a heavy ground army. Could easily go into Mass Roach and maybe some Hydras or something like that. But no sign of a Spire just yet, although he's just about to have enough gas, so we'll see if he actually goes for it. But huge wave of, oh, the Infestation Pit coming up. I love it. Huge wave of drones just also popped off onto his natural.
Oh, beautiful. And he will be able to fungal growth if he decides all these Stalkers. And this is interesting. I guess, I mean, I still don't understand the point of this Blink. I mean, if it's to defend against Mutalisk, I would honestly think that Phoenixes are a better choice, because Phoenixes they allow you to not only defend against Mutalisk, but go back on the offensive and kill a ton of Overlords. I think Stalkers with Blink, you have to sort of babysit them a lot more. It's much easier to lose into some Lings, whereas Phoenixes demand an air counter. So I think this is going to be interesting. I don't really agree with this choice, but now that he's on 2 base, if he gets enough macro up, he will be able to support enough Stalkers for Blink to actually make a difference. But that's a lot of Lings out there, and he doesn't have enough Stalkers at the moment. Oh, yes, he does. What am I talking about? Yeah,
and you were talking about the patch notes earlier. That was another thing that came up in the patch notes, was the idea that fungal growth will prevent blinking, so you can't get out of the immobility aspect of it. So, well, maybe we'll see the fact that that isn't implemented yet come into play. Who knows? But blinking out of fungal growth, interesting.
Yeah, and the thing about fungal growth is it doesn't last long enough to really negate the blink, because you just blink some units back as they get killed, or sorry, as they take damage. So now he has an Evo chamber going up as well. So I like this. He's getting up everything he really needs to do to prepare for a long macro game. I
Oh, a
like
second Evo chamber even. Yeah, he's going for double upgrades.
And it's weird. I remember Day9 actually mentioned in the daily, like losing to early pressure. If you look at the map now, it looks like nothing out of the ordinary really happened. I mean, yeah, the Protoss player has a few more cannons than one would expect, but beyond that, nothing really strange happened. And Cheticus is expanding like a boss, has his creep all over the place, connecting all of his bases, and even getting up the goals. And he knows, look at that, even creeping up over here to force the Protoss player to have to send a few stalkers if he wants to expand again. And Vequeth is sort of forced to do something, because if he lets this keep on going on and the Zerg player is allowed to get a golds up, there's nothing he can do.
Yep,
and look at that, nice cancel.
He just needs Colossus right now, and he's building a second forge. I guess he's looking for double upgrades, but I think he might be being a little bit too bullheaded about this. He's thinking I can win this with mass stalkers, and I think that's going to be a hard fight for him if Cheticus keeps up with the macro and with the varied units and upgrades. I think he needs Colossi. He just, stalkers and Colossi, not going to argue with that at all, but mass stalkers seems very counterable.
Yeah, easily countable, even if they have blink. I mean, speedlings, if you get a route for them, it doesn't really matter how much you blink, you're just not going to be able to get away on an open field. And Xel'Naga does have some pretty nice wide open areas for flanking. And the way Cheticus is spreading his creep is the best we have seen in this open so far. I mean, his creep is already up to the halfway mark. He already has it prepared to secure his gold. So as soon as he gets a moment to breathe, he can do a little bit of counter pressure and take back some map control. But nice blinking back from Vequeth here to preserve some of those stalkers. But those Hydralisks are just doing so much damage. I think he could have honestly just committed a little bit more with those, because you're not going to run away from blink stalkers all that effectively.
Yeah, Cheticus only unfortunately attacked with just a few too little units, but now that he gets some more Hydras up here, he's almost at critical mass. But honestly, Vequeth has enough Stalkers to hold this off. Like, Stalkers are not the best against this unit comp, but he has just enough of them, so that's, this might actually work out just fine for him. Interesting choices here, but still just pumping them out 5-6 at a time. Suddenly, Cheticus is going to have to just stop making econ and go for the infestors and go for the hydras and just really do some damage, because clearly he can't counter that with roaches and lings.
Yeah, and Vequeth is just making me eat my words. I mean, his use of his blink stalkers is just so superb. Look at that, sniping another expo, so huge, putting the Zerg player on basically 1.5 bases at the moment, while Vequeth still has his 2, and warping in 6 stalkers at a time, forcing a response, getting those Hydralisks off of creep where you can just blink, shoot, assassinate a few, and blink right home. So this is really, really good from Vequeth. I mean, I don't often see mass blink stalkers versus Zerg, especially when Zerg is on 3 base, but Vequeth is making it work, and all those upgrades are making them mini Hydralisks, basically.
Yep, he just happened to have the critical amount. Normally these don't count. Oh, nice, there we go. Fungal growths, although they were quickly dispatched by those stalkers. One even dying to fungal growth. That's pretty good. That's what he needs. He needs fungal growth and hydras, but I don't think he's got the gas for it right now. So he's probably gonna sub in a lot of lings instead. But he's got to keep making those infestors. I know it's so hard to tell yourself to make infestors when you're under attack because they can't attack, but he just needs to do that. A couple more roaches coming out. Hopefully you can fight by these spine crawlers here and get a little bit of a defender's advantage, but he is really just being overrun. I hate to say it, but the Protoss player is zerging Cheticus at the moment here with stalkers.
Yeah, really effective play from Vequeth right here. I'm just so impressed by his control of the stalkers. I mean, his natural was flawless. I didn't see him really miss a production cycle at all. And he put on the kind of force and pressure, sniped off some expos, and forced Vequeth basically took that game in a very surprising scenario. I thought